right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. Welcome to episode 8. I can't believe we're at episode 8 of Whispers of Horror. We have Samhith, basically the person who is working on the game Occult Chambers. If you want to introduce yourself, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Avery. Thanks for having me. So I'm the founder of Born Monkey. We are working on an action horror game called Occult Chambers. It's a third-person action horror game set in Himalayan valleys, where you get tangled into the world of occult and agoras and all these left side of Hindu mythology.
Perfect, perfect. We're just gonna get into it. I just want to say thank you so much for just being here and just being a part of this. I know it's super early for you. We're just in two different parts of the world, and I'm just grateful for you taking time out of your day to do this. But I want to get into your game, and I'm very excited about it. Like you said, it's a Cold Chambers. Um, if you don't mind, can you elaborate a little bit more about your game and how it what sets it apart from other horror game titles on the market?
Yeah, so the game is very narrative driven. So it's a single player narrative game. It's not open world. It's very, chapter to chapter. It's all broken down into different chapters. Like, for example, the RE4 remake or the original RE. So, you have chapter-based episodes. Each chapter concentrates on action and horror equally.
Okay.
So that is how we've structured it. So you get to have like intense horror moments, and then you also have like these kick-ass action moments in the game. So
Mm-hmm.
that is how the structure of the game is in terms of like the narrative. In terms of like the gameplay, the game heavily focuses on magic plus melee. So this is kind of like a combination that um, the game goes with. So you have a magic staff that you cast spells with, which is like the center core, um, what is the core mechanic of the game, and then
Mm-hmm.
you also can do hack and slash with the same staff. So there are like some interesting combos that you could do, which kind of puts it in a very interesting action horror, setting. And to answer your question, how does this set itself apart? This I think is probably the first games to kind of set in Indian mythology, an action horror game that kind of is exploring Indian mythology set in Himalayas. Exploring the Agori culture and whatnot. So there's a very even for Indians we know very little about this culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very mysterious for us as well. So I feel like not just for India but also for the world, this will be like a brand new setting for the action horror genre itself. So I feel like the fans of this genre will experience something very very fresh in this game. Yeah.
Perfect. And the thing about which I wanted to bring up was when it comes to horror games, it's a genre that you want people to get scared. You want people to get like that adrenaline. For me, like that's what I'm always looking for the next great, like the next hook. So the fact that you said
Mhm.
this game could be something different, like I said, it gets me excited and just like I'm curious to know more about the story and just like of how you came up with the game and everything like that. But I wanted to ask, what inspired you to create this particular horror experience? Like, were there any specific influence from other games, literature, or movies, or anything that inspired you to make this?
So I picked up these books like way back in 2021, 2020. These were books on the Agori culture. So this was an interview of an Agori itself, which usually doesn't happen a lot. They're not very, into the um, regular society. So they are apart from the society, but still somehow someone got them and got to interview them,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very fascinating to me, like their whole culture, the way they describe the world, and the way they see the world as well. Like the perspective is very different, that they're not materialistic, everything is equal to them, and their psychology was like very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that stuck for a while. I never thought I would be doing a game on it, but Eventually when we decided to like we've been making mobile games for a while, but like we wanted to like make a PC console game at one point. So when that discussion came in the studio, definitely wanted to like try something that is so mysterious to me. If it's that mysterious to the creator itself, like imagine how mysterious it would be for like people who are completely unaware of this culture. So I thought it would make a very interesting world for an action horror game. So that is how the idea started.
Okay.
It kind of snowballed into this 12-hour
Okay.
narrative game. So
Perfect.
yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, how long have you been working on game development? Like, when did you, or and then it's a two-part question. And when did you decide, like, um, that you wanted to do this? Did you wake up one day and just like, I want to make video games? I want to, or like out of the shower, did you just like, this is what I want to do? I'm just curious. Like, so basically, how long have you been doing this, and at what point did you decide that this is what I want to do?
I mean, um, I played Diablo 2 very extensively in my childhood, like
Okay.
about 300 hours or like 200 to 300 hours at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I was obsessed with it. Then many Nintendo games and whatnot. Like I mean, Diablo probably is the game where I thought, okay, this is. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed, what I could be doing, but I want to be part of, a group that makes games like this. So
Okay.
I definitely the spark started there. Um, and then eventually, I was continuously, trying to find ways to make games. Obviously, with the internet access and whatnot, was very little when I was, in my childhood. Um, so I eventually found a studio that was near my, school. Um, Seventh, eighth standard. I found an animation studio that was willing to teach me Flash, Adobe Flash, if you
Nice.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I remember Flash.
so yeah, so they taught me how to like draw stuff, how to animate stuff in Adobe. But then one day I realized that you could also program and make games using Flash,
Mm-hmm.
and that is where
It took off.
things started to pick up. Yeah, so
Okay.
I started making all these like silly platformer games, and just point and click adventures and whatnot. These are like extremely amateurish in terms of like the quality, but I was exploring a lot in my childhood, like till my 10th standard and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I think these commercial engines came out like Unity and then Unreal
Unreal.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So Unreal came a bit late. It was not free for a while, but Unity was free for like from my 12th standard, 11th standard.
Mm-hmm.
So I started using it, started making these goofy games. Eventually, I made this mobile game in my engineering
Mm.
third year called Shapehit, which I launched on both Android and iOS.
Nice.
Initially it didn't take off because I didn't know what marketing was. I was just
Yeah.
good at making the game. That was more than enough for me to like launch it.
Yeah. I get that.
But yeah, but it what happened is, since I didn't know how to market the game, it just pushed into a void, like a drop in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after six to 8 months, somehow it got featured on the Chinese App Store, Apple App Store, and then I got like 80,000 downloads in like a week or something.
Oh wow.
That yeah, so that kind of like showed me, okay, if I bring it to I bring this game in front of a significant number of audience, I think there is interest for this game. It was all about marketing it. The game was good, but it's just that if you don't market. So that was a lesson that I learned very early on, that marketing a game is equally important as making a good game. So but that also like showed that I could do this professionally. Like I could pursue this as a career. I could get serious, and that is how I founded the company in my last year of engineering, um, which is 2018.
Okay.
That is when I started Born Monkey. So I would say like about you would say like I've been programming for like about 10 years now,
Okay.
uh, professionally. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. No, I definitely hear what you say when you say like when you see the proof, when you said you had 80,000 downloads and you didn't understand the marketing aspect, but sometimes when you put your product out there, you never know who can see it. That's why I'm always a big advocate of people just putting it out. Like obviously you want to be happy with the project, but if you put the content out there or your art out there, you never know who or what eyes will see it and where that can project your career. So like you said, like the 80,000, you're like, oh my gosh, this if I take this seriously and really push into this, this can turn into other things. And same thing with my content, just like putting myself out there. Again, you never know who's watching, and you never know where it can lead in 5 years, which is leading into my
Yep.
next question, because I like obviously I want to get into like I just want to pick your brain just of who you are, how you started, and everything like that. Where do you see your studio and yourself being in the next 5 years? Like, what do you want to accomplish? What are some of the goals that you guys want to push for?
I mean, firstly, I would love to see Occult Chambers launched within the next 5 years.
Okay.
That is probably like 2025 to 26.
Mhm.
Um, and then I've have a dream project because of which I founded the studio.
Mhm.
That is the reason why I founded. If we can, my only hope is that if we can make enough money to make that game,
Sure.
that
I
would
get
be
that.
like a dream come true. So definitely, uh, I would see myself working on the next game, the actual project, that dream project that I want to work. Obviously, that doesn't put any sort of less importance on Occult Chambers. Obviously,
Mhm.
it is still like our top priority right now, in terms of like quality and the game itself. So that is how the plans are. And I mean, in the next 10 years, we would like to be able to be in a state where we could self-publish our games.
Okay.
Right now, we are dependent on publishers because we are not, very like we don't have that kind of reach at the moment
Okay.
to kind of make these games successful. But I think for the next 10 years, by the end of next 10 years, I would love to see Born Monkey be able to like self-publish our games.
Honestly, it's good to have goals, and I think I hope you achieve them and everything like that.
Thank
One more question before we a little more deeper into the game. Um, how is balancing just like regular life and owning like having a studio and just like working on the game? Like, is it like do you struggle with trying to figure like how do you like separate the business aspect of your life into like your regular life? Like, how is that transition and how is balancing that going?
Uh, so like first few years of the studio, I think there was no balance. Like my whole life was just the studio.
Okay.
Because it was intense to
Get it
kickstart a
going.
studio without money and then stabilize it, get some revenue and whatnot. So that was like the hardest challenge. But now I think I have enough time to play games,
Mm-hmm.
exercise and whatnot. I have like a good balance now.
Okay.
I would say, uh, obviously, when there are projects that demand your intense attention, right? There
Mm-hmm.
there'll be moments where you'll have to give your everything to the project, or there'll be days where you are sleeping in the office and whatnot. So that is also part of the journey. Considering that we are bootstrapped, I'll have to kind of take that responsibility to make sure we can survive the next day. So yeah, balancing is a challenge. Definitely, there are days when there is no personal life, but um, I mean, I'm happy to say that the last few years have been like much better in terms of like my life and balancing my life and the studio. So
Yeah.
there's been like a good balance. Yeah.
Which I still for like I totally get where you're coming from when you're saying like it is a struggle. Like you want this to succeed, and unfortunately you have to sacrifice so much to get your goals. Like you said, like the goals of 5 years and 10 years. But I feel like once you get to that point, then those things of your regular life could come back even more just because like you accomplished what you're going for. Same like and the same thing for me. Like I'm a father, and I work. I still have a full time job. Like obviously, I want this to be my full time job, but so much sacrifice, like sleep and just trying to be a father and just be a husband and just like it's just there's not enough time in the day. People think 24 hours is it's a lot, which it
No,
sounds like a
it's
lot,
very
but
less.
it's not a lot. Like you still got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to do all these things, you got to work on your craft, and it's honestly it's one of the hardest thing to juggle. So I respect you because I know programming is not easy, and like I know like when you work on something and you're not happy with it, you might have to scratch that whole idea and start all over again. So
Yeah,
kudos to you and congratulations for all the
thank you.
accomplishments that you have done so far. And like I said, I think I'm proud of just hearing your story and just getting to know you on a personal level. So, moving forward, let's talk about Occult Chambers a little bit more. So, how do you approach crafting the atmosphere and setting in your game to invoke fear and tension? Like, as I look at the trailer, like I see like just a lot of dark colors and just like like corridors, and it kind of gives me that temple feeling, which makes me think there's gonna be traps. There's gonna be snake. Like I don't know why I get like snakes, traps, monsters, like
Yeah.
dungeon feel. So which I'm very
Yes.
excited
Yeah.
about. And then like there's looks like it's shamans. I have the like I have three monitors. So like I've been looking up and down just because I like to see the gameplay, even though I've seen it multiple times. But but like if you don't mind elaborating more into the atmosphere.
Mm. Yeah, so I think for an action horror game, atmosphere like is like the most important thing, right? Like uh, having an immersive experience. Once you start the game, you're in there. There's no way you get distracted. So
Mm-hmm.
that is like my number one goal. Once you boot up the game, once you start playing it, you are 100% in. So to create that atmosphere, like a part of that is through environment. Definitely like to craft an environment that is eerie, that kind of gets under your skin, or is very unnatural or alien to the people. So that is one of the most important thing. And my work is cut in half because the settings that we're using are pretty alien to majority of the people, right? Like Indian temples or Indian forts. These are pretty much, or these abandoned forts. These inherently they have this fear factor built in. Um, the other part, I would say, like 50% of creating that atmosphere is through sound, or music and sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a music studio in the studio itself. My father professionally is a music composer, so I bought in. I So he takes care of making soundtracks for the game.
Okay.
So we have like a great, you know, um, rapport to like kind of make this uh, work for the game, and I'm happy with the tracks that he's been making lately. If you see the teaser as well, this was like done way back. It was just like a track for the game, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow it made sense to like use it for a teaser as well. So like music definitely is like a top priority. Sounds and music, which is 50% of 50% of any horror game. If sound is sorted, like you have at least half reached in terms of creating a atmosphere. And I believe we are taking like very good care of sound, especially. Obviously, we have good graphics that kind of sell that atmosphere for you,
Mm-hmm.
but also like sensory feedback is definitely there to kind of make you feel like you know you're living, or you're in that intense scene or something like that. So to create that atmosphere, both environment and sound play like a very important role.
Which honestly, you kind of touched the base on my second question, which is about the sound design. Before we even bring talk about a little bit of that, like you said that your father helps you with the sound design. Do you guys ever see a point where you like he's showing you something and you guys butt heads because you're family, or like, or you're like I don't know if I like this, or like how does it sorry, I'm trying to think of the question. How is it working with your father, and then do you have those
Yeah,
moments where you like want to wring each other's necks and just like, I don't like this, and do it again. Don't tell me what
yeah,
to do. Like family things. But like, I just
yeah.
was curious.
Surprisingly, my father listens to me. I don't know why that happened, why that is,
Not a lot
but
of people could
he
say
does. Yeah,
that.
yeah. So he does value my opinion.
Okay.
So we've never had, I mean, there are tracks that usually are not my type. So like there'll be tracks that I discard and he's totally okay with it. So
Okay.
I mean, he's a pro at it. He's been doing this for like 20 years. So he has worked with um, people who have zero knowledge of music as well. So he does understand where I'm coming. Obviously, I've been brought up in the house and I've been listening to music and
Hmm.
seeing all the tools that he used from my childhood. So I'm familiar with what he does and what he uses. So he does respect my opinion when it comes to like directing like few pieces once in a while. But usually I let him, make the tracks on his own, only come back when there's something that I don't like or is not giving me the kind of feeling that I want.
Okay.
So most of the time he's so he knows the story, he has seen the gameplay, he's very involved in like he does like let's say this interview, like any interview that I give, any podcast that I appear in, he will make sure that he watches it, he understands, he's in the loop. So
Gotcha.
he definitely understands how people are receiving his music, and he definitely he is passionate about the project.
Okay.
So that kind of also helps, uh, you know, with not having fights. Definitely, yeah.
I think that's cool that he's tapped into everything you do. I think that's an important aspect to building a game. Also, to build like to continue a relationship with your family, like that's important, you know. So like I think that's
Yeah,
awesome that he takes your feedback and knows that this is your game and contributes to that. I think that's
yeah,
absolutely an amazing thing. I know you said that the audio and just the sound design is such an important aspect into making horror and just to get capitalize the immersion. I wanted to ask, like, is there specific um, sounds in the game that you want to highlight? A certain sound from an enemy, or could you give anything about that and like while working on the game? Is there ones like a couple of specific sounds that you want to highlight?
one of the things, I mean, I wouldn't call it an agenda, but one of the things that we've been consciously doing with the music is um, to use Indian instruments very subtly. There are few Indian instruments that kind of invoke fear by default. There
Okay.
is some sort of like weird, sensation that you feel when you hear these Indian instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So we have picked up all these instruments that are very very alien to even Indians and definitely alien to people outside India, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say we picked up few instruments like that kind of promote our culture at the same time do their job of spooking you. So that is one of the goals with the music specifically as for the music direction.
Okay.
So that is something that I'm very thrilled, and the way it's shaping up, I'm like really happy. And then once it comes out, I feel like people are going to appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have some good fans for the sound itself, like the music itself. So
Yeah, actually,
that is
I
that
yeah.
is
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have it playing in the background, like just because I didn't want you to be drowned out by the audio, but I'm just listening to it, and it is unique. I just want to put that out, like just
thank you.
hearing just like the different instruments and just it really like I can't even explain it, and which is a good thing and a bad thing because I know this is a podcast and you want to elaborate on it, but it's definitely
Yeah.
things that I'm not familiar with, so I don't feel
Yep.
comfortable enough to explain it. But I'm more excited to know more about it. You know.
Yep. Yeah, so I feel like the music itself has to build curiosity. Like that is the first thing that you will feel. So definitely like using some instruments that are very unfamiliar to people, but also like are great to hear. Like if you see the teaser, you have a sitar at the end of the teaser.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the whole teaser doesn't have any Indian instrument, but that we use the subtle, Indian instrument at the end
Mm-hmm.
to kind of have that intro for Agora. So like we use that, we do that a lot where we use it with a lot of taste. We don't like drown you with tabla sound and whatnot. Uh, so we do like are very conscious about what is famous, like what people are aware of in terms of like Indian instruments, and what can we do to kind of add that unique layer in music as well. So that is definitely there. Yeah.
Perfect. I think, like I said, just the sound, like the sounds in my ears right now is bugging me out, which is a good thing. Like I think it's awesome. Um, let's talk about a little bit more about the gameplay mechanics. If you can elaborate at like how that contributes to the overall field experience, and how do you balance the challenge and fright with some of the mechanics in the game? Like I'm really curious about it. Like obviously the trailer shows you just enough to get you excited but about it, but not enough to know everything that is going to be in the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's a third person, magic and melee combat in the game.
mm-hmm.
So you can cast spells in at range. These are light spells and heavy spells, and there's a very interesting mechanic for casting heavy spells.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically um, chaining different words, and then they become a spell, and that is when you release you cast a spell. So like different combinations have different elemental reactions to it, and it's a very very interesting setup. um I don't know if you found that footage in the drive or not, but let's I'll probably like share it after after
Okay.
as well. But yeah, like the melee and magic combat is at the center and is very interesting. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I understand that once you give something to defend, once you give a weapon to players, the fear factor kind of goes down.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I feel like at the same time, now that you have to defend, you have a lot of choices that you could do, and then that you have these enemies coming at you, which again gives me another opportunity to kind of put you on your toes. So I feel like we are balancing both a player that cannot defend himself and then the player that can defend himself. And then these two scenarios present us with like unique opportunities to like scare
The
the
person.
player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that is how we balance the combat with horror.
Perfect. I wanted to ask, like, what are some of the enemies that we might see in this game? If you can
Yeah.
elaborate, like again, feel free to not answer any question you don't want to, even if it's not shown. But I was just curious if like you can elaborate on some of the enemies we might see during the demo when
Yeah.
it does release.
Yeah, so there is a playable demo on UEFN, that is Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a small experience of what Occult is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we've showcased one specific boss there. We just teased a boss there, which is like a five-headed, 12 to 15 feet big, five-headed snake.
I did see
This
that.
is
Yeah.
direct, yeah. So this is from our Indian mythology. So this is a mythical creature
Okay.
from the mythology, Indian mythology. So you're going to fight a lot of mythical creatures, a lot of asuras coming from Patal. These Patal is like a hellish environment where a set of creatures live, which are called asuras. These are demigods. So we do fight with these creatures as well. So this game actually gives us a good opportunity to kind of showcase these fantastic mythical creatures that have been in our stories for centuries. So you get to fight with these few, you get to partner with them or something like that. So
Oh, okay.
you have like a lot of adventures with these creatures. So definitely like a very interesting setup there. Creatures that you've never seen, very very unique in terms of like their design, character design, or like creature design. Um, I would say people will have like good fun playing against these and defeating these boss fights and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Listen, I love me some mythical creatures, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
So jump scares are usually often like used in horror games. How do you integrate them effectively without relying too heavily on them? Like with atmosphere, like obviously, like you see temples, you see ruins, and everything like that. Which I think booby traps and snake pit. Like I that's where my mind goes to, like the dungeons. Like you go in there and like
Mm.
obviously there's magic and everything like that. I just feel like every corner there might be something. But I just wanted to get your opinion on it. Like, are we expecting a lot of jump scares, or there's gonna be um like yeah? Are we expecting jump scares, and how do you incorporate it into the game?
Yeah. So jump scares is a double-edged sword. Like using a lot of it, players
Of
lose
course.
respect of the game. And in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw with a lot of playtests that we did um, is just to put a jump scare at the first 15 minutes somewhere
Okay.
in the first 15 minutes mark, and then not have jump scare at all. So
Oh,
what
okay.
happens is because of that adrenaline rush of the first jump scare, they are constantly expecting something to happen, and that tension just stretches, and nothing happens, and they're building stuff in their head. So that kind of
Psychological.
works. Yeah, that
Okay.
kind of works way better than just spooking them in every corner. So usually this has worked for us very well, and I believe a version of that would be incorporated in every chapter. But yeah, like not a lot of jump scares, definitely, um, but uh, a lot of suspense or like tension atmosphere, high tension atmosphere, um, sustained intense, sustained tension is what I'm looking for, and we are able to achieve that with the demos that we play tested. We do private testing in our Discord server. We also do go to conferences and showcase it and whatnot. So that has been like our formula, like not use a lot of jump scares, just one or two in the whole chapter should be good enough to like kind of create that atmosphere.
Okay.
Is what we found. Yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to talk about like just to develop a little bit more about the development. Or were there any challenges when you that you faced during the development, either creativity or technically, and how did you overcome them? And I have another question following up that. During that development, what is like one thing? What was the highlight of during that process that you accomplished that you're like, I'm so happy with this? And what was one of the things that you're like, what were one of the low lights or just like, oh man, this is one of the most challenging thing I've ever worked on, and it just didn't work. So I just wanted to see if you can elaborate on that. So the first question
Yeah.
was
So
like
in
any challenges during
yeah.
the development.
Yeah, so we made this game in 4.27, Unreal Engine 4.27.
Okay.
This was in 2021, 22. This started out with like a first person camera, like the perspective. But because we had a staff which was so big that it kind of covered like half the screen while
Mm-hmm.
casting spells, we did not like the direction in which it was going. So what we did was pivot to like a third person, camera perspective. That shift was definitely challenging, but at the end, uh, when it happened and when we were able to like play the game, it definitely felt right considering it was an action horror game. If it was just a horror game, I think FPS would have been a better choice. But since we're doing an action horror game where there is a lot of action, the player has a lot of animations and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that jump was definitely worth it and the right direction to go in. So that I think was one major challenge. Um, uh, I would say after that, most of it was like uh, production related, like in terms of like having budget to like make this game. That is
Mm-hmm.
like the next challenge that we've been obviously even till date we have that problem where we have money to like make it for the next 4 months and then we have to go back to services or like making some other games for someone
Yeah.
for in the studio or something like that. So we have to balance it out, considering that we are a bootstrap studio. We have to fund the production ourselves. So that is definitely challenging. The other aspect of challenge for Occult is motion capture. So we have no access to like motion capture for the budget that we have.
Hmm.
So like we have to animate everything using keyframes. So like keyframe animation is like frame by frame, you manually animate. Animators sit down and animate them. So that is, I think, takes a lot of time. Like one animation will take like 3 days, 4 days, and sometimes even that is like not good enough to like get into the game or something like that. So those are like few challenges definitely, but I think like these are part of any production. Like
Of course.
this is not something like to be surprised about. But yeah, like I think the most rewarding I would say is when we present it to people, when people play it, when we visibly see them getting scared or
Enjoyed it.
something like that. I think that is because you
Satisfying.
you know yeah, like any other game, there is very little feedback that you can get just looking at the player.
Hmm.
You'll have to go ask him how he felt it and how was the game and some stuff like that. But for horror games, you can visibly see, people's reaction,
Yeah.
and you can just tell that they're having a good time or the worst time of their life. So
No,
uh, that's yeah. So that's definitely like the rewarding aspect of it. Yeah.
I think that's yeah, I think with just horror, like you touched upon, it's like you know how the if the person's enjoying it, if they look like they're terrified or they're really immersed and get those feelings. Horror is probably the easiest to dictate if a person likes it or not. Which
Yeah.
for me, I'm very I don't hide my emotions. Like if you know I'm scared, you're gonna know I'm scared shitless, and I so I hope when this game, when I get to try the demo, I have that feeling, and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion on it when it comes out, and
Awesome. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which I think helps with just the feedback, which kind of goes
Yes.
to my
Yeah. Definitely.
yeah. I was gonna say it kind of goes into my next question because like obviously the community engagement is just like vital like for the success of a video game. How do you involve your audience in the development process, and how do their reactions influence the decisions? You kind of touched upon it, but I just want to see if you can elaborate a little bit more on that. Just like how you involve your community with like social media and just playtesting and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I feel like being an indie, on launch day, you will need to have some sort of support for you, right?
Of course.
Um, um, so from day one, the day we launched the teaser, we started our Discord server. We started, creating a community around the game, and we have like about 500 plus people right now.
Nice.
Yeah, that I mean, the number might be small, but the activity in the server is just bonkers. So like it's always active. You have
500 is not
people.
small, by the way. I think that's still like
Yeah,
a good surmised amount of people. So don't
yeah,
definitely don't downplay 500 people. I think that's half a grand. Like that's a lot. So I think
yeah,
that's awesome that you guys have just starting a community. So just
yeah.
my apologies. I didn't mean to
And
interrupt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Samveda, who is my sister, also is part of the team
Mm-hmm.
who takes care of daily production and community.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what she does, but the community is
Yeah.
ridiculously active. So we have you know game nights, movie watch parties and whatnot,
Okay.
active discussions on the different passions that these gamers have. So like debates and whatnot. Like it's I don't know. I mean it's very hard for me to catch up what's happening in the Discord. It's that active. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
very proud of that. Like that we have created a space where these people are happy and feel safe to like kind of voice their thoughts on what's happening in the industry, like what's happening to games, what they're liking, what they're playing. So we also have a channel where they post their screenshots. It's pretty active. I get to see like games that I would never have tried. I've discovered games because of the community and whatnot. So I mean, if there is one thing that I'm like super proud in for doing in the past 3 years, I would say it's our community. So definitely. we have like a thriving community, and we hope it grows even bigger. But with the support that they give is just even to the developers, it in reverse inspires us to make a better game. So
I
yeah,
think
so
that's absolutely awesome. I really do. Like I said, just like I said, 500 people is not small, and just like the fact that you guys have a community already, and the game is not even released yet, I think is
yeah.
vital because it's so important to get that feedback, and then and just having ideas that people might come up with that might help the game even progress further than it would before. Um, my other question is, I know you said you've been working on game development for about 10 years. Um, is there anything that you like from all the other projects that you have worked on that you incorporated into this game, or like say something example? So say you were working on a project and something just didn't work, and then knowing that knowledge you didn't do it in this game, or say another project something did work, did you like, so with all that history and all the things that you worked on previously, how did all those games that you worked on play a factor into this game? I'm sorry, I know that question might sound crazy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so basically you're saying based on what experience carried over and then made few decisions in Occult Chambers. Is
yeah,
that right? Yeah.
basically yes. You got
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
gotta work on it,
So
my questions better, but it just flows
no,
out.
that's totally fine. I mean, it's better to just have like natural questions like this.
Of
So yeah.
course, like I just, and
Uh,
I literally didn't have on my list. There's just like things I come up with.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, we made a bunch of games that are heavily, multiplayer. They're competitive. There are games where there were people playing against each other and whatnot. So, uh, but we made sure, like consciously, we wanted to stay away from multiplayer this time,
Okay.
just because, we wanted to have a premium game, which obviously will be sold for a price, and that's about it. Like there's no microtransactions, there are no you know
Mhm.
gotcha IAPs or something like that.
Yeah.
So you buy it and then it's yours, and nobody's going to mess with your content inside the game. So that approach of not having, so we've done a lot of mobile games, so we know what was manipulative to the player and whatnot, right? Like we were asked or like sometimes forced to do these things where we were not definitely happy with,
Mhm.
to play with the minds of the gamers or whatnot. These loot boxes or IAPs on mobile and whatnot. So
Mhm.
these definitely showed us how evil these mechanics are, how manipulative and destructive these mechanics are, for the sake of addictivity or like retention or something like
Mhm.
that. So we put all our eggs in having a good story, and then make sure that so these are split into like 12 chapters, the whole game, and each chapter is about 45 to 1 hour, so you indirectly have like 12 hours worth of gameplay in the game.
That's a good
So
amount of
we
number.
Yeah, so every chapter at the end you have this some sort of cliffhanger or interest point that nudges you to play the next chapter.
Okay.
It's made that way. So what carried over is the fact that the willingness to not put these manipulative mechanics, and instead have a good game in place with strong narrative. I think uh, because we've done all that weird stuff to sustain on mobile
Mhm.
for the publishers, because the publishers asked us to do it or whatnot, right? Um, a very unique or like a very strong, will was applied for this game where we wanted to stay away from a bunch of things. So I think that is what carried over. What not to do got carried over. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I wanted to ask, like, are we gonna only expect this game on PC, or like, do you guys have plans for consoles down the road?
Yeah. Yeah. So you wouldn't believe, but Yoshida from PlayStation and their team visited the office in 2022,
Okay.
and they did like play the game and they did like it. You know, so because they liked it, they did send us, the dev kits for PlayStation.
Oh,
So we are
nice.
now, yeah. So we will be able to like make it for PS5,
Hmm.
and obviously Xbox is also in India, and I'm trying very hard to like get the Xbox dev kits. I think very much. I feel like console launches are important for us. The seriousness of these audience is not something that we can ignore.
Hmm.
These people buy, uh, for full price most of the time, and they are very serious about their games. Obviously, Steam is also important. Steam is definitely like the first platform will hit, but there is no way we are ignoring the other platforms as well.
Of course.
So definitely coming, the game is running on PlayStation 5, so that is for sure is going to launch on PlayStation, and hopefully we'll get the Xbox Series dev kits in time to kind of launch it on Series S and Series X.
No,
So yeah, like the game is going to drop for consoles for sure. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And, like I'm a firm believer like PC is like one of the biggest, like obviously consoles are great and everything, but I've went from a console player to a PC player, and I didn't understand like what made PC so great and just Steam and all that stuff until I got it. And like so,
Yeah. Yeah.
now I'm just like so I don't even use like want to use my consoles anymore because once you make that transition, it's just a whole different
Yes.
atmosphere. It's like apples to like oranges, and or it's just crazy. But like the fact that you said like it's going to be on PS5 and consoles, I think that adds another element to getting out the discoverability for the people that can't have PCs, and just again
Yeah.
you get it to more eyes and to more people. Like PlayStation is not no joke. It's one of the biggest consoles out there, and obviously I
Yeah.
hope you guys get Xbox. That's another one. So just to be on more platforms is just more discoverability. So I hope you get Xbox. I think you making a game on PS5 is going to be awesome as well. So we do have time. We got about less than 10 minutes. I got a couple more questions
Oh,
for you.
wow.
I know it's crazy how like just the
Time flew.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, time flew. I love this because I try to give it an hour because it's not too long for people and
Yes.
everything like that, but it's not too short where people can't get all the information. So my last couple question is, what advice could you give to aspiring game developers who want to create their own games or horror games?
Uh, I would say like first, play a lot of these games. Obviously you're thinking of making these games. That means you played a lot of horror games. I would say sound plays a lot more, importance. So I didn't know that, until I made this, I didn't know that sound played this much of a role, in terms of like impact, like just subtle, SFX here and there also like kind of spook the player and whatnot. So like make sure you concentrate on sound, and like regardless of graphics, it's always about atmosphere. Like, have a lively atmosphere, make it look like it's living and breathing. The If it's a forest, the trees must move. The air is, very atmospheric, the lighting and whatnot. So uh, like telling stories through atmosphere is like the best thing you could do for an action or for a horror game, to be honest. The best examples being Bioshock for me. Like that was like a gold
Great game.
standard for me in
Yeah.
terms of like how to tell a story without, using a word. It's just you look at the atmosphere, okay, shit happened here. So you know you get that feeling. So like, do not underestimate sound and the way you use atmosphere to tell stories.
Hmm.
I think that will get you like halfway there, and having respecting players, in terms of like jump scares, I think is also another factor.
Okay.
Don't put too many of them, um, to just, sometimes devs get insecure and like put a lot of jump scares, and then it blows back. So it's definitely like make sure that you respect gamers, and also like, respect them enough to not hold their hand to play the game. So like horror games are usually all about the mystery. If you start giving a checklist saying do this, go there and whatnot, it kind of makes you feel like,
You're
you're being,
babying them.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, these I think if you take care of this, you already have like a good game. Yeah.
I think that was what you said was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. When you always talk about the atmosphere, like when you said and for Bioshock, when you look around, shit happened. I thought that was very funny. It caught me off guard, which is true. Like sometimes you don't have to let the atmosphere tell the story. Like another game that for me that does a fantastic job is Dead Space because you see
Yep. Yeah.
everything around and the developers even said like there's points of the game where there's no sound and there's
Mhm.
no music or anything. They just let the sounds of the ship literally going to shit and the screams of the people and just like let that tell the story. Like this is a ship that
Oh.
literally is infected with these necromorphs and it's just going downhill and you hear it, and that told the
Yep.
story without narrations, and even the character
Yeah.
doesn't say anything, which I think is just what's what am I trying to say? There's nothing wrong with less. You don't like less is more in
Yes.
a way,
Yeah.
and I think
Yep.
that's a
Yep.
good aspect to it. But finally, my my last question is there anything you want to share that we haven't touched about on the game? Anything we should expect? Teasers, hints, yada yada. Basically, in this last 5 minutes, is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't touched upon on the game? And also, guys, listen, real quick, go wish list the game. The game link is in the descriptions. Go wish list it. Go share support. Give your feedback. Everything helps. Like I said, I want to be able to have people come see the project. I think it's awesome, like just seeing all the trailers and just being able to talk to Samhead about this game. So go wish list the game. Let's keep doing this. Get this as let's get it to the masses. But yes, if there's anything you want to unveil or say about the game, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to convey is if there are people who want to be part of the dev journey, that is, they want to see updates or whatnot. I usually do that on Twitter, but I think I'm more one to one on Discord, so you can also talk with the devs, me and the producers, everyone. And if you want to like have early tests, early play tests, so if you're part of our Discord, you get to have these private play tests. So yeah.
this, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I'm all about it. So like,
Yeah.
again, send me that Discord link because
Yeah.
I got a lot of experience in
Next
horror
playlist.
games.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
you. um,
Definitely will hit you up with like the next playtest. Yeah.
perfect, perfect. It's yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is there anything else that you want to say about the?
Yeah, so basically, the like join our Discord if you want to like play early playtest before it comes on Steam, the demo and whatnot. So it helps us, understand where we are going, if we are going in the right direction, so that, and then you get to play it early. So it's a win-win for both of us. So if you guys are interested, like, please do join our Discord for playtest. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'll do also is in the descriptions, I'll put your Discord so people can go to that as well.
Awesome.
Samhead, I just want to say thank you so much. I know you got up super early for doing this, and this was a awesome conversation. And when the game fully drops, or just the demo, like I said, I would love to have you be on my live stream to do a developer with a streamer walkthrough and just a playthrough because I'm gonna ask you. You think this is hard now? Wait till I ask you all these questions. I'm like, why did you put this here? What? Why is this
Uh,
enemy so hard? Where's the save? Like, what am I doing? Why am I lost? Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm gonna
yeah.
hit you with so many questions, and I think it
Yeah, I
would
would
add
love
an.
that. Yeah.
It would be another element of like, you think the playtesting is gonna be hard? I'm literally gonna grill like give you every aspect of me because I want you to be able to have that feedback. And I've been playing horror games
Yeah.
since I was a kid. So like from Resident
Oh wow.
Evil.
Yeah.
So I have so much
Oh,
experience to give you, but for just feedback. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
once
that would be
once
awesome. Yeah.
perfect. Once that demo drops, like we'll be contacting everything like that, and I look forward to that. But guys, listen, I just want to say thank you guys for listening. This is Whispers of Horror, episode 8. Go wishlist Occult Chambers. The demo will be out sometime this year, and Follow your boy on all platforms. On Wednesday, we have another episode 9. We have another guest, so stay tuned for that. Hey, you guys, I hope you have a blessed morning, day, afternoon. I don't know what time it is for you guys, but